of guys in a couple of different countries have a couple of beers and discuss a stadium somewhere in the world and their experiences there. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And we're excited to be here with you tonight. Before we get started with tonight's show, please make sure to subscribe to the Stadium Journey YouTube channel, like the video, and feel free to leave a comment if you desire. The official Stadium Journey review of today's venue can be found at stadiumjourney.com, or even easier, you can find the link in the comments below. So let's get rolling. Dave, what are you drinking today?
So I am going back to a brewery that we've already had on Obstructed Views.
Are we allowed to do that?
Sorry?
Are we allowed to do that?
We can do whatever we want. It's our show.
It's our show. Do what I damn well please.
So I'm going back to Bracebridge, Ontario. I'm going back to Muskoka Brewery because I want to give you a peach of my mind. So we got some peach of mind from Muskoka Brewery. It's a peach kolsch. Not as peachy as I thought it would be.
That's all right with me.
It's good, but it doesn't. I don't know. The peachy part is not as overpowering. I'm not. I don't know if I had a kind of peach beer before. I've had plenty of apricot beers, which tend to have a bit of a stronger kind of fruit taste to them than this one does. So, but you know, I'm happy it's good. Muskoka Brewery. What do you got?
We must have a little mind melt thing going on today because I also have a fruity type beer from the town of North Conway, New Hampshire, maybe more famous for Mount Washington, largest peak in the Northeast, and Moat Mountain Brewing. I have a Miss V's Blueberry Ale. So, like you were saying, this one doesn't overpower you with the sweetness. Some blueberry ales can sometimes be just overpoweringly sweet and blueberry-y, if I can coin a phrase. This one's not. It's just got that nice hint and that nice little aromatics that go with having some blueberry but not overpowering. But because I had some blueberries in my fridge, I don't know if you can see it, but I added a couple of fresh blueberries in there, so now I can I like to bite into a blueberry after it's been sitting in that beer for a little while and let it squirt all over the place. But that's what I have today. In New England, especially this time of year, you got blueberry beers everywhere. Moat Mountain's one of the best ones. If we were visiting today's destination, we might be drinking The Void from 11th Hour Brewing, because today we're going to talk about PPG Paints Arena, the home of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Before we dive in, let's take a look at the Stadium Vitals. Okay, so if you are a fan of Stadium Journey, and you damn well better be, you know that we have a lot of love for the sports facilities in the city of Pittsburgh, in the Iron City of Pittsburgh. We've talked at length about PNC Park. We've even done an Obstructed View about it. We have not done one about, it's not Heinz Field anymore. What's it called now? I'm sorry.
Formerly known as Heinz Field.
It'll always be Heinz Field to me. But that's considered to be one of the better NFL venues. Does PPG Paints Arena uphold that standard for hockey arenas in the NHL?
Well, that's a tough one. So I find that for hockey, I'm a little bit more on an island, and the stuff that I have found really amazing has not necessarily been what other people find amazing. So I have taken a shine to some of the newer Southern Belt teams that many of my colleagues haven't. So, I mean, to say, does PPG compare? Well, I would say probably not, because I don't, not for me anyway. It's not in the top two or the top three.
Yeah, actually, now, very high standards in Pittsburgh, no doubt.
Those are pretty lofty goals, right? Like, yeah, no, PPG's not the best, so it doesn't compare to the home of the Pirates. But I mean, for it's solid. I have it kind of right in the middle. There are a few things that that I like about it, and there are a few things that are like, it makes me kind of wane for the old days. So right off, it's next door to where the Igloo was.
Right.
And I'm not an economist, and I don't fully understand the dollars and cents, and I don't understand why Pittsburgh necessarily needed a new arena per se. I'll take their word for it, but man, the Igloo was just so iconic. It was so different. It was so unique, and that's one of the things that I like is, especially in hockey, they're all so similar, right?
Well, once you're inside a hockey rink, you're inside a hockey rink, right?
Yeah, for the most part, the dimensions inside are the same, and now you're getting a lot of the exterior is the same as well.
Should we start by talking about the Igloo then for a little bit? For a couple minutes?
Let's start our talk on PPG by talking about what it replaced.
Yeah, why not? Just for a couple minutes. I mean, the Igloo, like you said, one of those iconic, unique arenas. It was actually built not to be a hockey arena. It was built to be a symphony hall.
Yeah, built for opera, built for the Pittsburgh Opera, and with a retractable roof.
Right. It did have a retractable roof that actually worked. Montreal.
Apparently.
They opened it in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh, and didn't they open it in that Steven Seagal movie?
Or was it a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
Oh yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't know, one of those two guys.
Yeah, one of those action heroes from the 90s.
But they did for sure open it in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. An awesome cult basketball movie. If you've never seen it, it's so bad it's awesome. Check it out.
Never saw it.
So
Have you ever
bad
been?
It's awesome.
Have you ever been to the Igloo? Saw a game there?
Never saw a game, but I had been there before they tore it down and got to take a look at it and stuff.
So I was actually there for a game, twice actually. Really kind of neat. Definitely had left, when venues get to a certain point, they sort of, the city and the team, they sort of walk away and they stop doing sort of things. So there was a lot, like there was just a ton. I remember a ton of cables and stuff hanging from the ceilings that were just not attached to anything. So, I mean, that was something that was strange. Reminds me kind of XL Center in Hartford, where like when the ends were kind of tiered and the sides were just massively huge,
okay,
single deck kind of things.
Well, they built those upper tiers right into the roof, so that got rid of the retractable roof because you couldn't move it anymore because all the seats were attached to it.
Gotcha. And then corners to get up there, corner. So yeah, but yeah, I had. I mean, the Igloo would not have been one of my top ones, and what became Console Energy Center now is PPG, I'm sure was an improvement. I would say, one thing about it, it was the first place that I ever really saw like the interactive kind of Hall of Fame deal, like with the giant sort of iPads, something that you would see in a museum or something like that, or in the Hockey Hall of Fame or something like that. But they actually had something like that in Pittsburgh. So I've been like 3 times, but only once for hockey. I did go to see the Pittsburgh Power of the Arena Football League a couple times, but I did go one March break with my kids to see the Penguins. The worst snowstorm we ever had for March break. We went down, got to Pittsburgh. We were supposed to keep going to Carolina. Said, well, forget that. Drove back to Erie. Had to pull off the road because it was way too crazy, like snowy, and grabbed a hotel in Erie and couldn't see across the road. So
way to do that in Syracuse one time.
Yeah. Funny enough, in the Wikipedia entry, they called it the house that Crosby built. No way.
No
way.
Did Crosby ever play in the Igloo?
Did Crosby
did his time overlap with the Igloo? Because I would always
that's a
conflate
good question.
the arena with Mario, not.
Well, sorry, maybe to be a little bit more clear, they talk about they call PPG the house that Crosby built. And I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
Because without Mario Lemieux, that arena never gets built.
We don't even have the Pittsburgh Penguins anymore without Mario Lemieux.
Exactly. And of course, a local tie, the head of BlackBerry, the CEO of BlackBerry, Jim Balsley. BlackBerry, of course, was situated right here in Kitchener-Waterloo, where I am. He put in when the Penguins were in bankruptcy, and he thought he had them, to the point that we were getting, for about 2 weeks, we were getting Pittsburgh Penguin hockey games on the local radio station.
That's right. Got to educate the population.
But yeah, I mean, Mario, what a unique situation that was, where Mario Lemieux, it's, funny, another connection to the Hartford Whalers, the owner of the Penguins who drowned was Howard Baldwin, who was also the owner of the Hartford Whalers for a period of time.
Correct.
And yeah, they to keep them afloat, they were getting people like Lemieux and Yager to defer their salaries, and Lemieux was deferred so much salary, and they were going into bankruptcy, and he approached the team and the league and said, hey, listen, why don't you, I'll take like 50 cents on the dollar, but you got to, you give me that money in ownership. And then he became the majority owner, and quite obviously he had way more cachet in Pennsylvania than Howard Baldwin or anybody else, and he could really get that deal done. But in Pennsylvania, it was also the back end of everything else.
Right.
So, think about this, the stadium race. Philly had built the ballpark, the football stadium. They built the hockey arena that was with private money. Pittsburgh had built the football stadium and the baseball stadium. And without that last piece,
the Penguins came up. Hey,
yeah, they was like, what about us? It's our turn now. Right. And maybe they learned from the Cleveland Browns, right? Where, Art Modell helped everybody else and said, now it's my turn. And the city was like, sorry, we can't help you. We got no money left. So he said, Baltimore.
Yeah. So, when you hit PPG Paints Arena, the first thing that you are going to see if you go in the main entrance is Mario Lemieux. Now, they just didn't do a generic statue of Mario standing there with a hockey stick, or, the cliche one with him holding up the cup, which would have been appropriate. They kind of took a famous action shot from one of his comeback, from early on in his comeback from cancer, from one of those first games. This picture ended up in Sports Illustrated, and they adapted it to a statue. It's a statue of him stick handling between two, I believe they were Rangers defensemen. I actually have the names of the two players.
Oh, nice.
It's Jeff Pilon. Rich Pilon and Jeff Norton were the two defensemen. He kind of split them, went in and scored, and it kind of signified his ordeal of, being diagnosed with cancer, having to sit out, step away from the game, coming back and continue his career. And also it's a parallel to saving the Penguins, coming back and rescuing the team. So there's a nice statue of him in an action pose right out there in the front plaza.
It's interesting. This team has so much connected between the two of us too, right? Like, I had the whole BlackBerry connection, but I mean, you now have, who owns the Penguins? The Red Sox.
That's right. The Red Sox own the Penguins. Yeah, John Henry and his group.
The Fenway Sports Group are the majority owners. Lemieux still has a little piece.
That's why the 2023 Winter Classic being held at Fenway Park is between the Bruins and the Penguins.
Interesting. I foresee, though, a lot more going into this place in the next decade, as kind of the current crop of Penguins sort of moves on, right? Basically, this is really the house that Mario Lemieux built. You got the Lemieux statue out front. There's only 2 retired numbers. Think about this. Here's a team that's won 5 Stanley Cups. Now, maybe you can say that really only 2 of them, we could start retiring numbers from that crew. And there's only 1 number retired from that crew, and that's Mario Lemieux's.
Really? No one else?
The second one is a guy by the name of Michel Briere, who died in 1970. He was
Right. He was an original Penguin.
Yeah, 21-year-old, and he died in a car crash. So his number is retired.
I did
Actually,
not know that.
not often do we ask questions here, but I'm going to ask a question of you. So the Penguins, the baby blue, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Absolutely thumbs up.
Really?
Absolutely. I really wish they would go with that. It was actually in this part of the country, for those of you who are not aware, I'm from Massachusetts. So it was a big controversy when the Penguins changed their colors to black and gold. It really was. And the Bruins ownership at the time, I believe this was what, 80s, early 80s or late 70s maybe?
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s. I don't really ever remember them with blue.
Yeah, but at the time, the Bruins management and ownership were like, hey, that's our colors. You can't have them. They actually tried to go to court to stop them from switching their colors. Obviously not successful, but it makes sense. What color is a penguin? It's black. So it does make sense.
Well, and it's Pittsburgh, right? Everything is black and gold in Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Another reason. They're the only city with all their teams color coordinated.
Yeah, even the college has kind of gone back to the gold and blue, but for a while there, they were like, the blue was so dark it was almost black.
Right.
When the arena football team was there, they were same color, black and gold always. So yeah, interesting.
Have you ever wandered around the Strip District? I remember doing that one time, and all you could hear was that song, Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow. From every speaker, like, come on. And I'm wearing Bruins gear because we were there for a hockey game. And like, yeah, I'm wearing black and yellow, but if not, you're black and yellow.
Black and yellow. You know, the area there is a little bit different, right? Like it's not right by the
not in the arena
the
district.
Spots.
Yeah, it's not the stadium district. It's more near the downtown.
I would say, is it called the Hill District?
It's right near Duquesne University and right on the edge of downtown. I think it is called the Hill District.
Yeah, I would say it's probably part of downtown. If it's not called the Hill District, it should be.
It should be.
It is. It's so strange because down by where the Pirates are, where the Steelers are, it's so flat. But then you get, once you cross,
you get on the mainland. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's a hike. I would not want to be walking down the street around there. And in fact, to be honest, because of the terrain, for us, it's been a bit of a turnoff. Like we've gone in for the game and then we get out, as opposed to try to park and meander downtown or whatever. It's just too much of a hike, an up and a down and whatnot.
Yeah. If you actually enter at the bottom, and not the main entrance, there's an entrance down at the bottom of the hill. There's actually like a 3-story escalator to get you up to the main lobby. That's how steep that hill is. It's crazy. I don't think the neighborhood around PPG Paints is really much to brag about anyway. I think most of the action in Pittsburgh is in other parts of the city. If you're looking for somewhere to eat, you're probably going over to the Strip District, or you might actually go over to, there's a bunch of stuff over by the ballpark. But
the highway is right there. Like,
yeah, it is.
And the streets, I think it was Washington Street. Like, it's a really big street. It's not one you want to just sort of like casually cross as a pedestrian or anything like that.
That's for damn sure.
So it's an interesting sort of spot. I don't know if there's a ton around there, but it's definitely not a spot that we've spent a whole ton of time. Yeah. Now, I think it's probably also more true to the way Pittsburgh really is, and downtown Pittsburgh, it's much more hilly than it is flat. But having been to the Pirates, man, we would go every 2 years. I've probably been about 10 or 12 times. That kind of seems like the home part for us. But the original kind of Primanti Brothers is up in that sort of downtown area.
It's over in the Strip.
Yeah,
the Strip District. Which, if you want to go to Pittsburgh and you want to experience Pittsburgh, that's my recommendation. As someone who hasn't been a ton of times, but they've got a lot of the famous restaurants are right over there. It's like an old warehousey area, but it's got tons of restaurants for some reason, including the original Primanti Brothers and a couple of nice breakfast places. DeLuca's is over there, and I forget what else. But
It's
A lot
going to
of good
be
places.
interesting to see what happens in kind of the next generation. If, like most teams, if the Penguins do a bit of a dip, you know,
Are they going to need to be saved a third time?
exactly, because they've just been like Mario has saved them so many. He saved them by being drafted number 1 overall and
Right.
being like a ridiculous phenom. And then he saved them again with the ownership, which
Yep.
followed up with what, 2 number 1 overall picks and a number 2 overall pick.
Right. One of whom turned into Sidney Crosby. So
Right.
yeah.
Sidney Crosby, Marc-Andre Fleury were both number 1s overall. I think Malkin was a 2.
Was it a 2 or a 3?
I
Yeah.
think he was a 2 right behind Ovechkin, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So they've really benefited from that. And then like is Pittsburgh, well, Pittsburgh clearly a football town, but is Pittsburgh enough of a hockey town to keep those fans coming in
to survive a rebuild? Yeah.
When it's, not as when they're not as successful. I know Dan has some, our friend Dan has some disdain for Penguin fans. Let's face it, I'm sure it has a little bit of jealousy involved there, because when you got 5 Stanley Cups. I've seen them win 5 Stanley Cups in my life, and
A little jealousy, a little honesty in there, a little of both.
yeah. Here's an interesting fun fact, as my daughter would say, fun fact about PPG Paints Arena. It is the only major league arena in Canada and the United States that does not have a contract with either Coke or Pepsi.
I don't think that's right.
You're going to get some RC Cola there.
Yes, you are. I do remember that. I do remember RC Cola, but I don't think they're the only ones. Well, I'm not gonna put any money on that, but you could be.
I read that somewhere. So
okay, so we'll agree.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it. Absolutely.
Now, and when I say major league, I mean
the Big Four.
The Big Four, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and interesting. We were just talking about food in Pittsburgh. I mean, and the legendary food places continue. The theme continues at PPG Paints. You can get a Permanente sandwich at PPG Paints Arena. I don't know if you can get Quaker steak wings. I think you can.
I think so.
I think you can. You can get some Iron City beer. You can get all the classics there. Interesting thing that happened. All right, interesting thing about PPG Paints Arena. They do have the open concourses. They have 2 of them. One under level, one on the upper level. So our second time going to a Penguins game, we got really excited because I bought tickets. I got them cheap, and they were row 1 in the upper level. So I'm like thinking, great, we're not going to have to climb a ton of stairs, because we usually end up in the last row or next to last row of the upper deck when we go to games, because stadium journey philosophy. I would rather go to 4 games cheap than 1 game expensive. So got where there were seats on the end, but they were in row 1. I'm like, yes, no stairs. We're walking around the upper level, get to our section. The concourse is at the top, so we had to walk all the way down the stairs. So yep, I still had to do all the stairs. I channeled my inner Homer Simpson when I got there, and my wife was there, and she just kind of laughed at me. She says, "This is row 15 up here." We had to go. Going down is okay, but then we had to go all the way back up. But we were trying to before we started recording. We were trying to think. It's been a little while since both of us have been here. So we were trying to think of what stood out at PPG Paints Arena. I do remember a ginormous pro shop down in the lobby that you can access, not during the game, but before the game, after the game, on a different day. Had all kinds of stuff there. I got stuff there from different teams, actually. So it was really well stocked. Wow. Yeah, it was a year they were playing. Where were they playing? They were playing the Winter Classic somewhere. Were they playing the Rangers, possibly at Citi Field? They had all kinds of Citi Field stuff. So, there's that. There was the great food. There was the open concourses, Stanley Cup banners, 5 of them. And it's funny, they don't have them all like in a row here. They've got the 2 Mario ones over here on one side, and they got the 2 Sydney ones that were back to back on this side, and then they got the one other one in the middle. So they're kind of spread out a little bit. But this is a team that has had a lot of success and displays it proudly. And for me, you said it was more of a middle of the pack venue for you. I've only been to a dozen NHL arenas. I don't know how that compares to you. I think you're way ahead of me in
I'm
that
about
regard.
twice that.
Yeah, so I've been to a dozen, and it's up in the top. Well, top five doesn't make it sound so good, but it's up there for me near the top. So I really enjoyed my trip, and we have mentioned before Pittsburgh, one of those sneakily fun cities to visit. That nobody says, "I want to go to Pittsburgh," but if you go there,
But us,
yeah,
us
but
stadium dirty
stadium geeks,
people.
yeah, because you're going to eat well. There's a lot of fun things to do in the city. You've got museums. If you're into art, you've got like the Andy Warhol Museum, stuff like that. You've got stuff like attractions like the Incline, and you've got that section over by the river. I forget what they call it, the riverfront probably, but you can do all kinds of stuff throughout the city. So it's really a pretty cool place to check out, and for my money, a very solid arena.
It's the influence of the Penguins has spread. They did host a Frozen Four. There are some collegiate teams around. I mean,
Robert
Penn
Morris.
State's not around the corner, but they've bumped their team to Division I in the last decade, which is not,
And if you've been to Penn State, they have an outstanding new hockey arena that was all built. It was built by the Pagulas who went to Penn State and who own the Sabres, right? Or do they still own the Sabres
and the Bills and Buffalo everything.
All right, so that is PPG Paints Arena. I hope to maybe see you at PPG Paints Arena. Maybe not. Maybe we'll see you at the Winter Classic at Fenway Park. The Penguins are playing. So that's our look at the arena and the Penguins experience. Hope to see you on the road again real soon. Cheers.
Cheers.